Good afternoon. Welcome to the Teamster Mobilize Fearless Slate conversation. My name is Jennifer Hancock. I'm a member of Teamsters Local 322 here in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm going to pass it off to my colleagues to introduce themselves. Kat?
I'm Kat. I worked at UPS Oakland Airport under Local 70 for a couple years. I was a shop steward there. Transferred to Local 769 in Miami, whereupon I got laid off as part of the whole wave that's sweeping across the country right now at UPS. Moved to New York City and working on getting back into a Teamsters job here. I'll pass it to Jess.
Hey, my name is Jess Lister. I'm an 8-year part-timer on the preload with UPS. Was with Griffin, and then we were permanently closed, and we were moved to Forest Park about 30 miles further away. And I am a proud member of the LGBTQ plus caucus and an associate member of the Teamsters National Black Caucus. And I am a steering committee member here at Teamsters Mobilize. Oh, and I'm a 6-year shop steward. Don't forget that.
All right. I like your postings.
Thank you. I'll pass it to Jose.
I apologize. Jose Francisco Negrete, 27-year Teamster out here in Local 952, Orange County, Anaheim Hub. I work the Twilight and part of other things too. I'll pass it to, if Big Will's on, I'll pass it to my comrade Big Will.
Yeah, I'm William Pina out of Cerritos building in Los Angeles. I'm a 30-year rank and file package car driver and Teamsters Mobilize steering committee member, and I'm happy to be here.
Kat, you get the introduction about TM, and then Richard Hooker, it's yours to take over for the Fearless Slate.
I forgot to say, maybe it goes without saying, but I'm also in the TM steering committee and Malice Commons Union. And to kick it off, we really appreciate y'all taking the time to meet with us and talk with us this morning. I think it shows that we are starting off this conversation on a basis of unity, that we believe internal democracy is essential for our union to make forward progress and to function in the interests of the rank and file membership. And as Teamsters Mobilize, we're also coming to the conversation based off of our own understanding that the raw force that is needed to transform the IBT into a fighting union, which, as we have kind of been articulating it for ourselves, it means not just being a shield, but also a sword in the struggle against the ruling class. That force comes from the broadest masses of the rank and file membership, and we need leadership to be able to organize, to cohere, to channel and direct that force in the most effective and militant way possible. Of course, that's always going to be necessary, but no one person or group of people in a position of formal leadership, no matter how good your intentions are, is going to be able to make the necessary changes that I think all of us can see some of these things in our union to turn around the various quantitative and qualitative regression that we're seeing right now. Without the support of the people on your side, you're not going to be able to do so much. Obviously, on the table right now is the question of the formal relationship between Teamsters Mobilize and the campaign of the Fearless Slate going into these elections in 2026. And after this call and after the town hall next weekend, we're planning to have a democratic decision within Teamsters Mobilize about what that formal relationship is going to be. But I also want to emphasize that no matter how that ends up going, and then even no matter how this election in 2026 ends up going, we are going to do everything we can to find ways to provide our will and our support to you all in your capacity as leaders, insofar as we see that you are acting in the interests of the workers and not the bosses, in the interests of the members and not the employers. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this question that we have on the back of our shirts. And I know that I saw at the back of those golden yellow shirts in Brother Crystal. Vera's local. Of which side are you on?
I borrowed it. I borrowed it. So I humbly apologize for.
Yeah, and you can't be on both sides. So.
I have not seen as crystal a statement as that statement that's on that T-shirt, so I had to borrow it.
And this slogan comes from the rich history of class struggle in this country, based on some folk songs that were written during the minor struggles in the 1930s. So we're carrying it forward proudly because we know it to be true. I'll leave it there and pass it off to Brother Richard Hooker.
So again, thank you everybody for that's on Teamsters Mobilize for allowing us this conversation. I'm glad we're having this, and I appreciate this time. I don't take it lightly because again, you guys are doing great work, and to consider us as partners, it means everything to us, and I thank you for that. And so, do you guys want me to pass it to the members of our slate as well, or you just want to get right into the questions?
Oh no, we want y'all to have an opportunity to shine. So yes,
Okay.
go ahead and introduce yourselves to us.
Myself, my name is Richard Hooker Jr. I'm the principal officer of Teamsters Local 623. Just let everybody know we had something very historic happen today in our local. For the first time in history of 106 years, the incumbents they ran unopposed. So no opposition, and this is the first time it ever happened. And so that just speaks to again our members and how we were able to transform that local. And so I'll pass it off to the most senior principal officer that we have in the Teamsters, Chris Rivera.
Good afternoon. Appreciate this invitation to speak with you all. Some like Jose, we have spoken to outside of here. I've been I've been a principal officer now. This is my 36th year. I have a history of activism, I hate to use the word militancy, well, because when you're dealing with people like Assata Shakur, you have to humble yourself into what militancy is. But Local 808 has been historically and has always been a union that's active, that's participating, that's pushing against the capitalist regime that controls the system, and that we understand that we as Local 808 are not going to do it by ourselves, that this requires leadership at the top level, because we have to pull the other unions in. We have to become leaders of a mass movement, and that is what I hope comes out of this that we're doing. Certainly my participation with the Fearless Slate is that we're going to have that type of a movement in which the bottom to the top as opposed to the top to the bottom.
Go ahead, Yvette.
Hi, Yvette Avery. I am a union steward for drivers out of Local 728 in Atlanta. Also the treasurer and Southeast Regional Director of the Teamsters LGBTQ plus caucus. Also a member of the National Black Caucus, as well as a Teamsters Mobilize member.
Brother Eric Johnson.
Yes, hi. Thanks for the opportunity today for this getting to know each other. And I'm a 42-year Teamster, and I'm at Local 190 in Billings, Montana. And I'm just proud to be a member of the Fearless Slate. I feel that it is a slate that's going to represent the Teamsters better overall, bringing that bottom up mentality instead of the top down mentality. I've worked as a shop steward for over a decade, and I'm very heavily involved with our union on big issues like change of ops, and with this recent issue with inward facing cameras and the safety of them in our industry. And we've been fighting a hard fight on that, me and other members of the Fearless group, because we care. And that's why I'm here. We care, and we want to make a change, and we want to make this a better union and not one that's so isolated like it is under Mr. O'Brien currently.
My good friend here, the boogeyman we call him, Mike Moxley.
Yeah, I'm Mike Moxley, president of Local 29. Won my election past year, took office in January. My main contribution to the Fearless Slate is accountability for everyone. Even though that the Fearless Slate is running for these high positions, I still want to make sure that we're all accountable for everything, and allowing the members to understand that they do have a voice. And I want to make sure that it is understood that it is from the bottom up, not the top down. And I do believe, no matter how people feel about O'Brien himself, to me, the guy just realistically only came out, pretended like he cared, and then as soon as he got into office, it was crickets the whole way through. Eric said that there's things that we've been working on, but my main goal to this is to make sure that the members are heard, no matter who you are. So that's my what I want to bring to this.
Brother Jeff.
All right, Jeff Schenfeld, 29-year Teamster, started out at 804 in New York, worked my way down to 767 in Texas. I've been a steward, business agent, and for me, a couple of things. I don't like bullies, and it doesn't just have to be the company, our side especially. We expect it from the companies. They expect them to come after us. When our own people come after us, that doesn't work for me, and I'm going to go after them just as hard. And we need to make sure we're always holding everyone accountable, and that's simple. And it's just a matter of just putting the right people in there and making sure that we're all heading in the same direction, and most importantly, preparing the Teamsters of the future. Always got to. You don't have, we get in there. I'm not worried about my position. If someone else wants to run, being they're better, good, fantastic. You can't be in there just to, keep your position. You got to have the best people in there. If someone's better than you, so be it. Then the members will speak, and that's the way it is.
So we have Sandy now. She's not a member of the slate, but she is more of our communication slash everything. And
Everything.
she definitely has to say a few words.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Weaver. I am a proudly retired. Actually, let's see. Let me go back. I was an international organizer, campaign coordinator, and for a while I was a supervisor of a CRM team, which is the customer relationship management platform, which I'm now running for the slate. And so I'm kind of trying to fill as many roles as I can to help this slate, because frankly, I love them. And that's, and I don't love Sean. So there you go. But I'm happily retired.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. So that's the group that we have on right now. And before we get into the questions, I just want to make sure everybody knows, especially on the TM side, that this has nothing to do with any of us. This has everything to do with our members. This is why we're fighting as hard as we are, because this system has been going on long before Sean, and now is our time to do what we can to fix it. And I think we put together a team, along with your help and the rank and file, who feel just like we feel. We can change that system. And I want to touch on something Mike said about accountability. That is one of the most important pillars that we need to have as leaders. You only get that through rank and file, not through other officers or whatever. You get that through rank and file. The more power you give them, the more accountable you will be held to them, as well as transparency. So that's our introduction, and I'll turn it over to, I guess, Jennifer.
All right. Our first question. These all are being pulled from our platform that we have put out for the 2026 Teamster election, and most people here know that the majority of us are part-time UPSers. Not all of us, but most of us are part-time UPSers. We have a couple of full-time UPSers and a couple of other Teamsters from other industries. So we decided part-time UPSers are a really odd class of worker. We're probably the biggest group of unionized part-time employees in the US based on a gut feeling. I don't have any evidence for that. And as such, we're in this odd place where we pay dues as Teamsters, but no one takes us seriously because I feel like it's a generation gap. They all feel like we're young. We're all young people, and we're just here to work a part-time job for a year or two and then leave. And that's not true. I have 34 years as a part-time UPSer, so I'm not young and I'm not leaving anytime soon. So some of these questions are very specific to being a part-time UPSer. We do have some broader questions. So our first question is a UPS question. We're talking about automation and layoffs, which is affecting, right now it's primarily affecting part-timers at UPS. Kat mentioned being laid off. Jess's building was shut down. My building is slated to be automated in 2028. The IBT it's crickets, to quote Michael. It's crickets. We have heard nothing about how they want to push back against automation for part-timers. For feeder drivers, they're talking about, having someone in the cab at all times. When they did the buyouts for full-timers, there was a lot of sound and fury from the IBT. So what would y'all do about automation and AI? And how would you bring part-timers into this conversation, the conversation that we've essentially just been shut out of?
I was a part-timer for about 7 years before I became full-time. So I understand the plight of part-timers. We have to do a better job of organizing our part-timers around the issues that are important to them. Because like you said, and you hit on a really good point. When the whole buyout came out for the drivers, man, it was a uproar. I mean, it was all kind of stuff, right? But this automation is really going to impact part-timers, and nobody really says anything. That's a big, big problem. And so I think the number one key is, especially when we have to fight back and push back against automation, you have to organize your largest group, which is the part-timers, because they're going to be the most affected. So how do we do that? Number one, don't be afraid to talk to them. Number two, you have to listen to them. We do a lot of talking at people, but we don't listen. Listen to the part-timers, talk to the part-timers, find out what issues are important to them, and then follow through on that. Follow through on the issue. Then when it comes to this thing about automation, number one, be transparent and honest. Don't lie and say you stopped it at a rally, and then come to find out everybody's building is closing due to automation. You have to be honest and transparent. Go to the part-timers, hey, listen, automation is coming. We didn't stop it. We didn't mitigate the loss. But this is what we plan on doing moving forward. We're going to organize with the company to mitigate the loss of part-time jobs. If automation is due to take your jobs, how can we organize the jobs around keeping the part-timers? For an example, if automation breaks down, let's train our part-timers to do the work to fix the automation. There's things that we can do. But again, it's not going to work unless you organize the part-timers together and tell them and be honest, this is what we plan on doing.
Thank you. Brother Michael?
Well, I want to start off first. I would go to Hooker, basically stating that we're going to win, which I do believe we are. But first thing I would do is I would go to Hooker and I would say, hey, look, you need to put me in charge of this, and me creating a group or starting a group, or whoever he thinks to start a group, is to look into all of the AI technology that is coming in. One, to make sure that it is safe for anyone that is in front of it. The second thing is to basically do our due diligence, to do the research, to find out what it's actually going to do, what is going to happen within the next 5 years. If it's going to replace anyone as part-timers and or full-timers. Make sure that we're on top of it, because of course UPS or any other company out there is not going to give us the full itinerary of what they're expecting or what they're wanting from it. Most companies want AI for a purpose of one purpose only: to replace members, to replace human beings. So, I want to make sure that we're in front of that and making sure that, we're not saying yes to something and then all of a sudden 5 years down the road find out that, hey, this now just replaced all the part-timers for this specific type of equipment that is coming in. I want to find out exactly everything that they want to do with this equipment. And that's what I would ask Hooker if I was, when we win, that would be the first thing I would ask him. Hey, give me permission to get into all of this and find out, to make sure that one, it's not going to hurt the members, and two, it's not going to replace them within a 5 to 10 year time frame, because AI is being pushed so fast down people's throats. No one is taking the time to sit back and go, hey, is this going to remove us in the future? So that's what I would personally do once we're in.
When it comes to the part-timers, I know, I had Will Hale on my slate when I ran. I had 2 part-timers on my slate. And it's important, no matter the conversation, no matter what the conversation is, they have to be a part of it. I'm a package car driver, but that doesn't matter. I didn't favor package car. I didn't care about, more about feeders or anything like that. Part-timers, you have to, they're members too. And I don't know why it's been a certain way where people have forgotten about them, but again, they make up the biggest number, and everyone is just as important as the next person. So just want to make that one clear.
Thank you. Brother Eric?
Yes, the only thing I'd like to add to that is, one, of course, the current administration did a horrible job in negotiating on behalf of part-timers, because they didn't have any protection set forth on automation, and allowing them, once they got a bump and a pay raise, to then just fire them. And that is horrible. And I know there's a lot of long-term part-timers. I know a lot of them personally myself, being out of our facility here for the past 30 plus years here in Billings, Montana. And I've seen a lot of part-timers retire from these jobs, keep them as a part-time job, or have another full-time job or a part-time business. And I get it. They like to keep these jobs for the benefits, mostly because it's hard to come by great benefits in this day and age. But I think one thing I'd like to add to it is, if inevitably that they're going to have a replacement of your said job with automation, and there's no getting around it, wouldn't it be a great bargaining tactic for all of us to have to say that you need to slow roll this out and offer training to advance yourself in other possible fields in the company, in the industry, to do something, whether that be becoming a package car driver, or doing something in feeders, or even the opportunity with our mechanic shop, or something along those lines. Because as far as I know, none of that exists. I remember, as I was a shop steward and I brought it to our chief principal officer at the time, Jim Larson, we initiated a program which still is enacted today, that was not feasible and didn't exist before we thought of it. And I was talking to part-timers on the job. And before we can go out and hire anybody off the street, we have to give the opportunity for part-time, and this is for feeders, for a part-time individual to qualify as a tractor trailer driver, go out and get his Class A CDL, and then they can be offered the job and go through the training process and get a big bump in pay before anybody else would be given that opportunity. And I'd say in the next contract, we should push for something even stronger, and stating that we could take inside people that are working in package, just like we do our package car drivers who have no experience in driving a tractor trailer, and offer them the training as well, free of cost. Because that is what happens with package, but it doesn't happen with our package handlers inside our hubs. And I think if we brought changes like that, it would definitely help our base of people that we're talking about as far as part-timers.
Excellent point. We are at the 10-minute mark for that question. So Brother Chris, Brother Will, Big Will, if you want to make a very quick remark, we'll wrap this up and move to the next question.
I just wanted to say that AI is going to affect everybody. This technology is going to affect every work and every workspace. Uh, Goldman Sachs says they're talking about 40 million people losing their jobs worldwide. Uh, what I say is that a few things were said here: retraining, looking at controlling the amount of hours so that hours can spread, right? So once you have this technology, you have to then reshape the hours that people work so that everybody can work and have job security, and that's important.
I just want to
Yes.
I just want to expand from the steering committee and being a package car driver myself and being part of change of operations. And I want to make everyone on the Fearless Slate aware that we need more protections from change of operations. This is a job security issue, right? I mean, I was sent over to another building and they're tearing up routes. They're collapsing routes where your route used to be in back at your old building. It's no longer in at the new building. So we need more job security. You know, without job security, you have nothing. So I just want to expand on that point from what everybody's saying right now, because this is a serious matter, and I think that the company chipping away at our job security is breaking of the union, and I just want to make everyone aware of that on the Fearless Slate. Then we need to do something about it.
Thank you. I will wrap this up with our own comment. On our own platform, some of the methods that, or some of the things that we have come up with dealing with AI and automation, and I did like the idea about the training and severance packages, but we've talked about pay parity for part-timers. That idea shocks a lot of people, but if you think about it, there are what we call combo jobs and everyone else calls 22.2s and 22.3s in a warehouse working at a full-time wage. And part-timers beside them are doing the exact same job. My job is no easier than a combo person's job. I'm doing the exact same work for a different wage. And it's time that we ended those those tiers of wages and just paid people for the work that they do, irregardless of the hours that they work. We've also talked about abolishing the part-time job classification. UPS and the IBT have shown that they cannot be trusted to look out for those workers. So perhaps it's time we ended that particular job classification. That's a rather controversial. I know plenty of part-timers who do work other jobs and don't want to work at UPS full time. But that was another suggestion that we came up with. And lastly, this one applies to the US, but I would love to see unions to lead the way, is AI should not just be benefiting the boss class, the billionaire class. It should be benefiting all workers. We should be looking at shorter work weeks. We should have more time. If we're taking away work from people because we're handing it over to a computer, then that should benefit the worker. They should have more leisure time, more family time. And we're talking about no loss of pay or benefits. The new full-time work week should not be 40 hours anymore because there's not 40 hours worth of work anymore. It should be, we suggested 30, but that was just a number that we made up. It could be anything. But yes, if we're going to be moving into an automated future, it should also benefit the worker. So we're pivoting to our next point. We also talked about, we've put out statements about international solidarity. We've put out statements in support of Palestine, the genocide being enacted by Israel. We've also put out statements about supporting our immigrant union brothers and sisters and the ICE raids that are going on right now. So would y'all like to speak about your thoughts on international solidarity? Big Will, is that an old hand? Or do you have a hand up? Okay. All right. I'm going to say Brother Chris, then Brother Hooker, and then Brother Johnson.
I just had this conversation just the other day. It is important for us to establish permanent relationships with unions around the world. I think in France now they're already at a 30 or 32 hour work week. And I think that if you look at the 40-hour work week, you're talking about 1886, right? When we had the Haymarket and went through these things. So it is very important that we have these relationships globally, uh, the way the dock workers have that relationship globally. We need to have that kind of camaraderie globally, especially in the modern era, to deal with the issues of AI, technology, and the workspace in general. So I am wholeheartedly in support of us having, I dare say, ambassadors to regional parts of the world that would have maintain those relationships.
I agree with Brother Chris on that, and I will also say that this war in Palestine, labor needs to speak out and be very, very vocal about that. Any war, because war, what does it do? It destroys the working class, no matter where it's at. And so we need to be leading that front because nobody wants to see babies dying and families torn apart and all this. The people can't feed their families and all this stuff. No, we have to call out any and every war because it directly impacts the working class. And I also agree with Chris with making this global community of labor, if you will. But first, we're going to have to fix and repair the relationship that we have here in the U.S. Our general president has isolated us from the rest of the labor movement. So we're going to have to repair those relationships and let them know that once we get in moving forward, we're on the same team. You don't have to worry about which side we on. You'll know that. And that's the message that we're going to have to send these employers in the ruling class once we link back up with the rest of the labor groups here in the United States.
Yes, I totally agree with everything that Chris and Richard just said. And I would add to, yeah, we have to start here first because we have such a troubling administration that has turned a blind eye to all of the major unions. I mean, how come the Teamsters aren't there for the UAW? How come they're not there for the AFL-CIO? How come they're not there on any of the major things that affects everybody in labor just in this country as far as who they hire for the head of the FAA, who is a corporate hack that wants less safety, not more. We have them obliterating the National Labor Board, where we don't even have enough people to quorum currently. And, you know, all of these things happen. They pick a former UPS, Amazon CEO to run OSHA. And we don't speak on any of these matters as a labor union. That's weak. That's weakness. We're strong in numbers, both nationally and internationally. And we have to make that a better effort, you know, to move forward, to change all of that, because we're at a real deficit right now because we don't have any of those relationships built that we need to, for sure.
And I just wanted to say, I went to an event that I was invited to by some of our members to get educated on what we should do faced by ICE. And so I went to the class, went to the workshop, great information. Then I noticed Brother Hooker had the same thing the next day at his local. Now, it was requested at our local for us to actually let our members get some education on what it should be like, you know, the rights you have if ICE approaches, to make our shop floors a no ICE location. And our local was like, oh no, we're not going to do that because everybody don't agree with the same thing. No, we have workers that are immigrant workers. So you're not going to educate your members because people are on different sides of things. No, these are working people, and any attack on one is an attack on all. So we should always stand up. So I always pay attention to those things when it comes to people who claim to be leaders, but actually are not leaders because they're not looking out for the working class. And so that's where we should stand. Anytime there's injustice, we should be there to speak out against it and fight against it, no matter, what the situation is, because we are here for the working class, is how it should be.
Yeah, I just wanted to be very clear that because you lumped a few things in there that we have marched. We are absolutely opposed to the genocide in Gaza completely. Our tax dollars are supporting the mass murder in that region, and it is abhorrent. I hate to tell you that in Israel, they have free college education, they have free medical, they have universal health care, they have all of the things that we strive for here and can't get. So we have to be very clear about how our tax dollars are being spent and for what purpose. But we also have to be reminded that we, that is the United States of America, is also a settler colonial country. So it supports its cousins in like mind.
Thank you. I'll just make a few general remarks about the question, and then we'll move on to our last question and have concluding remarks. Kat mentioned this previously, and we have been using a metaphor of the union as a shield and the union as a sword. And I'll explain that a little more in depth. Currently, our unions are essentially just shields here in the US. A good union will lose all the current levers that we have set up for unions to use, like the NRLB, the grievance process, to protect their members from bullying at work. And there is probably a union as a sword is a union that is going out on strike, work stoppages. And here in the US, good unions primarily are shields. They're going to protect their union members, they're going to follow the law, and there's probably no union out there that is what we would call a sword, just because right now what the grand bargain that we have made is that unions will have all these protections as long as we follow the law. And but that means that if you want to stop work for safety issues, for example, you can't. It's a process. You can't just do that. Yes, and I'm thinking about workers who cannot actually strike. Federal workers, teachers don't have the right to strike, and of course, I've been told that approximately 1 million federal workers have just lost their union protection from their folks who are representing them. And a couple of years ago, we had teachers in West Virginia who actually went on strike illegally. And I remember all the discussion around that. So just some thoughts from us about the role of a union here in the US. And perhaps right now, the current administration is destroying all of those levers that we have previously used. And perhaps it's time to start rethinking that grand bargain that we made here in the US between unions and businesses and the government. So we'll leave it at that and move on to our next question. Teamsters Mobilize was born essentially out of TDU. We attempted to organize within TDU as part-time UPSers, and that did not go well. That went nowhere, essentially. And we have attempted to get TDU interested in helping part-time UPSers and have received comments like TDU does not single out individual companies like UPS. So kind of left us hanging out there in the breeze. They've also stated in the past when we have made resolutions around political issues that TDU does not get involved with political issues. Here at Teamsters Mobilize, we believe that just being a union member is inherently a political thing. So we'd like to hear what the Fearless Slate has to say about unions and politics.
So I'm just gonna say this, okay? For years, TDU, no problem, good education, everything was good, right? Then, and I'm just gonna say, and I've spoke to a bunch of the TDU, some of us on the steering committee, that they said, yeah, I said, you got a seat at the table now, right? And so when I said to him, I said, but don't you feel like you sold out a little bit? I said, now you're forgetting about some of the people. And it just been that I had heard that some of the Teamsters Mobilized weren't allowed at the convention, right? And I'm like, so where do you stand? Well, we need some things and this and that. I said, but you're losing the original reason why you were fighting. You're not holding Sean accountable. You're doing whatever he wants. You're being subservient to him. It's a 90-10 or a 95-5 relationship, and you're forgetting about everything. So Ken, and I mean, it's a problem. I don't understand that. Like, you got a seat at the table, but let's forget about what we've been fighting for years. Like, it's a huge problem. And saying they don't single out, well, they're singling out the Teamsters Mobilize people, which is a load of crap. I mean, let people there. What are you doing? I mean, like I said, I think that everyone should be able to work within the realm of the Teamsters, however it is. And they don't want that. And just like Sean wants it his way, they're following what his way is. And it's not necessarily what everyone wants. So I think it's a huge problem. I think, that part's got to change. And I don't know about, I know they're going to put it up for a vote at at the convention. Is it going to be a fair vote? Is it going to be this? I don't know. Do they want to take Ken David? They want to take it out of their hands and see what the members think? Which isn't that what it's about? The members, not them, right? So, I mean, it's just I think there's a lot of moving parts, but in the end, you can't lose who you are, and I think they've lost that. So, my 2 cents.
Thank you. And yes, to clarify, all team members that had attempted to sign up to go to the convention had their fees refunded. We are not allowed to go. Brother Chris, then Brother Richard, and then Brother Eric.
I yield to my general president. After he speaks, I will say what I was thinking.
So just to clarify the question, are you talking about internal politics or politics with Democrats, Republicans, that?
More broadly.
Yeah, broadly speaking, but yeah, right now we're talking about internal politics. The international solidarity and the AI conversations, I think, probably hit some of the points about working within the government and working with other unions.
So right now, and this is going on way before O'Brien. I want people to understand that this system has been like this with Hoffa. When he was there, it's always been about the rank and file members are subservient to a king, if you will, and they get to do whatever they want to do, and we have to go along with it. And when you don't, you speak out against it, then they come after you. And I think this is why it's important that we train up, empower, educate our rank and file members not to put it with that. Because like you said, Teamster Mobilize was birthed out of what TDU was supposed to be and is supposed to be still doing because they refused to do it. They didn't call out O'Brien for this contract. They don't call him out for none of the stuff that he's doing now when he, separated us from the rest of the labor movement. And so what we have to do as members is, listen, we don't have to worry about O'Brien or the Hoffers. We could do it on our own, right? We can build that movement. We could be the guard dogs, if you will, to make sure that this organization runs the way it's supposed to. But it has to be put back in the hands of the members. One of my favorite activists of all time, Fred Hampton, he said everything will be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And that's what we're going to have to do. Put it back in the hands of the people.
We need to rejoin the AFL-CIO, number one. The reason why we're not there is the reason why we have people who choose Janus opportunities or right to work opportunities to not pay union dues. And we don't want to pay dues to the AFL-CIO. And we wonder why our members don't want to pay dues to the Teamsters. The other thing that we have to do is we have to build a workers' party. We're never going to achieve the goals of the working class with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. And that we have to be a part of a movement to stand up a workers' party. If we don't stand up a workers' party, we will always be subject to the whim of the boss because the boss owns the Democrats and he owns the Republicans. So we have to have a very clear thing. Internally, we have to build within our rank and file. We have to build understanding, knowledge of why voting in a particular. I understand the emotion of things that are happening around them. They have to understand why things are not in their interest, why voting in this particular methodology is not in your interest, why voting over here is not in your interest. That's something that you have to teach people, which means that we have to communicate with our members in a way that is way beyond what we're doing right now, right? So we have to have equal access the way Fox News has equal access, the way MSNBC has equal access. We have to create equal access to our membership so they could start to hear why the union believes what it believes, why the union does what it does. We have to build that from the ground up. We have to make that happen. I've said to Richard, the reason why I wanted to see a very young slate is because it takes time. It's not going to happen in 5 years. It's going to happen in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years because there's so much that has to be done. There's no way to believe that it can happen in just, one term of office. It takes time to build out that movement that's required to recapture the brains of our working class members who have lost their minds to Trumpism and MAGAism.
Yes, just in adding to what Chris and Richard have already said, I believe it does all start with education. We need to educate our base and let them know that there's particular legislation out there that is going to allow us to unionize more easily, like with the PRO Act. And we don't want to vote against our own interest and have states be able to implement right to work. And we want to, we care about worker safety. We need to make sure that we're hiring people throughout the government that regulate things. Let's say the amount of flight hours it takes to become a commercial pilot, and not reducing those and increasing safety risk. We represent a lot of Teamsters that are pilots out there that are up against that right now with the former hiring of a Republic CEO of Republic Airlines, where he wants to reduce hours to allow people to fly in our airways. And see, all of these things are political in nature. And we have to educate our base on who's making the decisions that are going to benefit our labor movement and not benefit rich corporate billionaires that have decided to somehow make it about social issues while they screw you on everything else. And that does not happen under this current administration whatsoever. He stays silent on all these type of issues, and it's really a disgrace.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on and speaking with us today. Last question. Is there anything that we have not touched on or any message that you would like to give to our TM members or anything you would like to speak about on that we didn't touch on in this call?
No.
I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity. We appreciate it and looking forward to working together in the future, regardless of what happens in 2026. I think it's important for all of us to realize that it's going to take all of us to save all of us. Nobody's going to come and save us. It's not me, not O'Brien. It's going to take all of us to save all of us. And so I would just thank you say thank you again for this opportunity. It's very, very important for us to hear these voices, listen to our members, because again, without you, we don't have anything. The rank and file members are the power. It's not the elected officials. We don't have anything. I tell my members all the time, if you think that the officers can do everything, then we haven't done a good job of really explaining to you where the power comes from. And we haven't done that in the international level at all. What you see now is a top-down structure that will tell you that O'Brien and the GEB are responsible for what moves the Teamsters, and it's not. It's the members. And I just want to thank you guys again for that. And I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Big Will?
Real quick question before we let you guys go. This is for everyone. We've seen recently the death of UPS workers. We've seen a beautiful lady up north with that just lost her life, had 4 kids, and I've been personally like affected by the loss of package car drivers in my building. I've attended funerals, and it's one of the most traumatic things I've ever seen in my life. And we've been talking about an injury to one is an injury to all. And I want to know what your responses would be if something like that would happen, because unfortunately, it seems to me and to other people that the union helps UPS just sweep these deaths under the rug. And we just talked about unions in other countries. If this happened in another country, say France or whatever, Germany, other Western democracies, you would see a general strike. People wouldn't go to work because their coworkers died on the job. And I mean, I know we're constrained by ridiculous labor laws in this country that don't work for anybody but the bosses. But what exactly would your responses be if something like that would happen under your watch?
Does anyone, I know we're doing concluding remarks and
I'll take the question if you
yes,
would.
okay, go ahead.
I first of all, I want to apologize. My wife's battery went dead in her car, so I missed the call, but I have to take care of my wife. And to answer Big Will, I think it's kind of tied to what y'all were talking about a minute ago. It's tied to education and making sure that we get the membership to support one another in these instances. And it's, the simple answer is that we shouldn't be in bed with the employer. We need to remember, I think some of the problems are salaries that these guys make, and they get soft, their hands get soft. They don't know what it's like to work anymore. That they've lost touch with the membership. But we can't sell out to the company. But the current administration talks about militancy. That doesn't exist in the Teamsters Union. They want to think they're militant, or they want to convince us that they're militant. But to truly become militant, it starts on the shop floor. It has to start with education of each and every member, empowerment of the stewards. And I know I get so tired of hearing all this because I've been hearing it for 40 years now. But at some point, somebody has to actually do the deal. And I will say that in all truthfulness, I love the humility of I love the whole slate, but I'm going to kind of prop up my boss, if you want to call him that. He's not my boss, but my running mate. He is one of the most humble, genuine human beings I've met in the entire labor movement. And that's what we're lacking in this movement is people that really, really give a shit about anybody and really understand what it's like to be rank and file. And we need that more than ever, because we hear this shit all the time. We're at a crossroads. We are really at a crossroads in this country, and the labor movement's critical. And Big Will, you're right. We got to start moving people to action. Voting for somebody solves nothing. Being active, being engaged, standing up against the employers, that's the formula. And it starts with leadership, real leadership, not a bunch of assholes who are drawing multiple salaries. I'm sorry, Richard, my mouth is pretty bad. But anyway, I hope I answered your question. I didn't dodge it.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Well, there should be investigations done, and I understand that the union, can't realistically go in there and do their own investigation. But to answer his question, what I would go to Hooker with saying, hey, whoever's in charge of that local, let's make sure that they're staying on top of it to receive some sort of investigation done by UPS to make sure that, everything was possibly done, humanly done, to protect life, because, it is sad to see someone lose their life over their job and then apparently sit there for 3 or 4 hours, allegedly, right? I don't know the whole story, but I kind of paid attention to it. But I do believe that the IBT should be involved in making sure that the company isn't sweeping things under the rug, and coming out and then, maybe trying not to hurt the company in a sense to where they lose, their customer base, but in a sense to go, hey, you screwed up. You hold them accountable for what they screwed up, and you help them fix it, because, if a company goes away, there's no workers. So I get that aspect. You got to play that fine line with the company on it. But I still think the IBT should be involved in making sure that an investigation is going on and making sure that whatever caused this never happens again.
Can I say
Thank you.
something?
Go ahead. Yes.
All right. So listen, so lives have been lost across the country, right? Heat, everything. We've lost a bunch in our local. Okay. And the biggest thing is being proactive. And forget about proactive for a second. The IBT is not even being reactive. Okay. They just did a podcast, Sean, with my our president a year and a half later after some, that driver who drove off the road because he passed out. That's how important it is. That's baloney. We've had a bunch of people on here on our podcast. We talk about the heat even when it's not hot. Okay. And that's being proactive. And that's the problem. They're not being proactive. They're worried about how they're going to look. Who cares about how we look? Let's be proactive. Let's protect our members. Let's protect human beings. How about that? And stop worrying about all the other stuff. So it's simple. It's simple.
Thank you. Sister Yvette, did you want to speak on the Big Will's question also?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say something on that because we moved from the other. But as far as the sister losing her life, we and the other members that we've had to deal with as well. I reached out to one of the members at that local in one of the comments. I just inboxed them to make sure that the family has the information because we need to support the family as well. So once stuff has happened, the family needs to be supported and they need to know that UPS has an insurance policy on all of us. And I want them to make sure they get that money because UPS is not going to tell them. So I've had to do that here in my local with some people. I had a steward that passed away and made sure his family was able to collect the money that UPS, bankrupts us. So they win when we work and they win when we die. They collect off of us no matter which way it goes. So they're going to always come out on top because if nobody claims that money, UPS still, they collect and keep it moving. And so we need to make sure we not only support our members to educate them on safety issues and whatever going on at the job to make sure they call these jobs out, these employers out, so they don't have to deal with these type of situations, as well as make sure we support the family in the event something does happen to the member.
I just want to add to that exactly what Mike said. There needs to be specifically on that poor woman losing her life. It's from what I read about it on several different articles, several hours before she received any help or care, allegedly. But this is what is being reported. That is totally unacceptable, and there should be a deep investigation into this matter. And on top of the investigation, they need to put safety protocols in place to prevent something like this from ever happening again. All this should have a huge write-up and see how did it happen, why did it happen, and how can we prevent it. And I really haven't heard anything along those lines because we need to protect our workers out there. And if something like this is a possibility of happening, it's obviously has to be preventable.
Just wanted to say one thing, and I know in New York, there would have been an investigation by the New York State Department of Labor as to what caused it, what were the circumstances, what were the training protocols, and so forth and so on like that. So I'm very surprised to hear. I'm not familiar with the specific case, so I won't speak to the specificity of the case, but in the norm, that would be what happens, that the State Department of Labor would investigate and give a determination. I just had one of my stewards that passed away the other day, and they did a whole investigation and provided recommendations and resolutions and towards that. So I'm surprised that did not or is not happening.
This is occurring in Richmond, California, and we are depending on Reddit and what newspaper articles have been published on the internet. I'm hoping that someone who has contacts with the actual union or the building will be able to get us more information. And there is a police investigation apparently, but I don't know. News tends to be very bad about follow-up. Yeah. So I don't know what the resolution of that will be. All right. Do we have any more comments on Brother Will's question? And all right, yes, go ahead, Brother Leonard.
Hey, first of all, sorry I'm late to the call. I wanted to just contribute that a lot of this, a lot of the package drivers who are having health issues in the trucks, it relates not only to the air conditioning or the lack of air conditioning in the cabs. It has a lot to do with the ventilation back behind the bulkhead as well. So one of the things that we need to focus on, as well as the air conditioning in the cab, is proper air circulation back in the behind the bulkhead. I know that most of the drivers that I am aware of that have passed out or worse have been back looking for packages when it happened, and so that's it's another issue that we need to be focusing on and bringing to the company. Thanks.
Thank you. So, assuming there is no more remarks on Big Will's excellent question, Jose, and then Kat, and then if anyone wants to make another concluding remark, raise your hand.
Okay, in discussion of that we're having, I think there's an elephant in the room that hasn't been discussed, which is Amazon, and what would be the approach that the Fearless Slate would take or consider planning or brainstorming when it does come to the Amazon question. Because I mean, I can't speak for the Amazon organizing department, but hopefully they're doing a good job. But it does I don't know what's happening, because it seems like they're focusing more on the DSPs, the delivery service partners, rather than the inside workers when it comes to Amazon. So I just want to hear what would be the brainstorming of a strategy when it comes to Amazon.
Let's have one or two people comment, and I'm going to scold several of you for not putting these questions on the list like I asked this week for you to do. Shame on you. Yes, if one or two of the Fearless Slate would like to speak on this, we'll get this wrapped up so you can all move to your next meeting.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
So if I can, I know, John, you got your hand up.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
gotta say something about this, because this same question was asked of me yesterday, and Jose, you hit it right on the head. They're focusing too much on the DSPs. You got to focus on the people in the warehouse, because they're actually employers of Amazon. You build your base there. Not only do you build your base there, but those folks are directly in relationship to who we have at UPS. So if you build your base with those warehouse workers, add what's going on with the part-timers at UPS, you can really start to get some movement on Amazon. But for whatever reason, I don't know why they're focusing so much on the DSPs and they're not getting anywhere with that. So you got to change your strategy. You have to build your base with the folks on the inside. Use your leverage what you have with the folks like the part-timers at UPS, and then you can start to see some movement. And I'll just say that.
Yeah, I want to try to be really quick about this. And as you know, I've been an organizer for the biggest part of my life now. The Teamsters versus everybody approach is not the approach to organizing Amazon. Amazon is a behemoth. It's the largest employer, I guess, in the world, right? I mean, we are not going to organize Amazon by ourselves. We need to work in solidarity with not only our brothers and sisters in the labor movement, but environmental, social, religious. It is going to be the most monumental undertaking of our lifetimes. The approach right now is like 4 years ago, a bald-headed guy was telling you, we're going to organize Amazon. He knew he couldn't organize Amazon, but he just did it to get you to vote for him. If we're going to organize Amazon, there's also a political approach. Anybody that's dealt with the National Labor Relations Act, the Railway Labor Act, the NLRB, the NMB, all these entities, they're owned by corporate America on both sides of the aisle, by the way. We absolutely have to change the laws for organizing. Right now, Amazon is at a totally winning position. These little sort of trick things about the delivery service providers. We've already done that. We've already lost with DHL with that strategy. It is so much bigger. And you guys, y'all's message is really about this in general. It's like when you talk about a national strike, you're talking about everybody being involved. We have to quit trying to play little games and create these little segments, these cute little tricks that are, look, that strike, I admire everybody that supported it, but that was not a strike. And that was a PR stunt. We're not organizing anybody with a PR stunt. We organize people by mobilizing them and engaging them. This is a monumental fight. We have to stop putting ourselves in the Teamsters or the Sean O'Brien. We're the Teamsters. We don't need anybody. I'm sorry, Sean. We all need each other, and the Teamsters need to be a part of making this happen. And that's, I don't know how more simple we can make that.
Thank you. All right, concluding remarks. Chris, Brother Chris.
Yes. I just want to say that I am a part of the Fearless Slate because I believe in Richard Hooker Jr. I believe in his humility, I used to call him, so before it became the Fearless Slate, I used to say, Richard, we should call it the clean hands and a pure heart. I have not met anyone in this union with the degree of intellect and honesty and openness. And I've been around here for a very long time. I believe we will win if we get out here and do the work that we have to do. I have been on this battlefield for a very long time. My sister Kat, I met, we were up at Hunter College and Labor Day Parade. But I've been doing that from the time I was in college, started with the apartheid struggle around South Africa and what have you. So we understand that there's a difference between the business union and a movement union. We plan to be a movement union. We plan to be a union that understands the nature of the issues around it, by not only our lived experience, but also listening, particularly to the younger workers that are coming up today, to find out what it is that what do we have to address for them, because their demands are different than the demands of my time. So Richard is there. I believe in him. I believe that he's going to be the leader that we have been looking for a long time. And I stand in ultimate solidarity with this slate. I've met some very good people on this group and conversation that we've been having and whatnot. I look forward to working with them and to working with you all, because I believe there's a body here that are in sync with the way we need to move forward as a union.
Thank you. Sister Kat.
Brief remark on the question of politics in the union. I think regardless of whether we're talking about things going on internally to the union or our relation with the broader political environment that within which we exist, in all of those matters, we still come back to that same question that I said at the beginning of which side are you on? Because in the internal union politics, like all of those questions, when you dig down to the bone of them, it does have to do with, are you taking the side of the ruling class or the working class? Obviously, within the Teamsters, we do have a specific focus. Like we are primarily here to organize those workers who are in the Teamsters union, and then of course expand the union and bring more workers into the fold of the organized union movement in this country. However, we can't forget the fact that if that is the only thing that our sights are set on narrowly, we will inevitably end up back in the same position of Sean O'Brien promoting Teamsters versus everybody. So our primary guiding star has to be the fact that we're part of a larger class struggle. I'll leave it there. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and ideas that they've shared, and I'm excited about the path forward.
Hear, hear. Well spoken. Thank you. Brother Eric.
Yeah, feeding off of what John was just saying earlier, this slogan that Sean O'Brien has, Teamsters versus everybody else. It really needs to be Teamsters and everybody else versus corporate America, or like the shirt that I just saw just a second ago up on the screen. It should be the Teamsters and the working class versus everybody else. That's what we need to do, is be on the side of the working class in this country and everywhere else. And we're just not right now. And we need to change that. And that's what the Fearless Group is going to do, I believe.
Thank you, all of y'all, for coming on today and speaking with us. And yes, if anyone wants to help them get on the ballot, reach out to Yvette, get a petition, get out there in the gate, start getting signatures on your own time.
Yeah.
Not on company time.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Great. Thank you all. And we're planning to hopefully bring out a larger crew for the town hall next Saturday.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right, great. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Solidarity.
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 Always solidarity.